assert.
Idea. So someone will read something to me and I'll go, oh, okay, they started with an idea and
Hello,
then they got specific.
everyone.
If they flip it, then the reader will get the specific first, and then as the poet comes into possession of the idea, it will make more sense. Well, that's a kind of simplified version of that, but when you're writing, you're thinking, does this work? It's a machine. It's an object. You know, you put a quarter in and it should do what it's supposed to do. And when it doesn't, you fiddle with it. You think of, how do I make this work better? And, you know, there's an old saying, writing is rewriting. So first drafts are usually, that's all, they're first drafts. I've never written anything that didn't go through more than one draft. In other words, I've never written anything that was perfect the first time out. Now you're supposed to ask me why.
Well, okay. I was actually thinking about, you said the ending scene of Saving Private Ryan was very emotional to you.
Yeah.
So, do you think that scene meant different things to different people?
Well, you can't know how something is going to affect someone. People can be affected by something 100 different ways. All you can do as an artist or a writer is to make a good guess and say, in order for this scene to work, the line has to be different. Or I need to put the line over here. Or I need to cut the line and say it this way. You can only guess. You can only imagine, you know. And ultimately, you are satisfying yourself. You're saying, this works for me, so hopefully it'll work for others.
Now, with the first draft, you had said something previously.
I said that I've never written a perfect first draft.
Well, there was also something you said in another
And you were
interview.
supposed to say,
Okay, but
why
that's
is
not
that?
what I'm actually going to say, though. So what
I
I'm going
know,
to say
but-
is
But I
something
won't
about
give
genius.
you the answer if you
Uh-huh.
don't ask the question.
How about I ask the question afterwards?
You can ask it anytime you
Let me
want.
ask the question about genius. You had talked about genius.
I know what you're referring to.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
What am I?
I talk about the accidents of genius.
Yes, thank you. Mhm.
Right. Everyone has genius in them. They just don't know what it is. What they do know is their talent. And your talent will never produce anything great. It will only produce something that's good. Your genius is what is capable of creating something great. But because we rely on our talent, we often never get to our genius, because talent is the obstacle to genius. It's when you don't know what you're doing sometimes. It's when you are falling and you're just at the mercy of the gods, that your genius wakes up and says, this looks like a job for Genius Man. And genius comes through and you do something and it's amazing. And what do you think of the two things someone says whether it's a painting or a story or a poem or whatever, when they get something that's utterly amazing, what do you think of the two things they say to themselves?
It's crap.
No, they know it's great.
Oh, I see.
What do you think they say to themselves?
I'm a genius. I'm amazing.
No, that's not what they say.
Okay.
Have you ever had that experience where you did something and you go, oh, fuck?
I thought just a minute ago.
Yeah, okay.
I
And
guess
what do you say to yourself?
I thought I was going to ask a brilliant question, and then I realized that it wasn't.
No, you asked a different question.
Sure.
I wanted you to ask the question, why?
Okay.
That's all.
I mean, I've done things where I thought it was amazing, and it didn't get that reception, and then vice versa.
But when you knew it was amazing, what was the first thing you said to yourself?
That it's powerful.
Yeah, but, okay.
I mean, you know, I'm sorry. In my
I'm-
elementary world, it's
I'm going to
powerful,
say it,
but I don't.
I'm going to say it, and you're going to go, oh, of course, you're right.
Okay. Uh-huh.
You write something or you do something as an actor maybe in the middle of a scene, and afterwards you go, oh my God, That was amazing. And then you say to yourself, where did that come from?
Oh, okay, yes, that is happening.
Because you don't know where
Right.
it came from.
Correct.
All the other stuff you did, you know it came from your talent. You know that you know how to do that stuff. But this thing, you go, where did that come from? Then what's the next thing you ask yourself?
How can I do that again?
Exactly.
Oh, yay, I got it right. Okay.
How can I do that again?
Right.
And the point is, there is no formula for that. Otherwise, people would be accessing their genius constantly. But they're not. They're usually depending on their talent, which is understandable. That's okay. But talent will only get what's good. Genius will get what's great. But your talent is your biggest obstacle. And when you let go of your talent sometime and are willing to fail because you have no idea what you're doing, sometimes your genius comes to the rescue. And when it does, you do something and it shocks you. And your first thought is, how did I do that? And your second thought is, how can I do it again? Because you want to do it again, but you can't make it happen. You can only be receptive to it happening. You can only be available for it happening. And how do you make yourself available and receptive? By getting rid of your talent. And if you think that's easy, you have another thought coming, because you and your talent are in cahoots. You say to your talent, make me look good and I'll keep you on the payroll. And your talent says, keep me on the payroll and I'll make you look good. So the two of you got a deal going here. You're both going to make the artist look good. But that's not what you want. What you want is something great. And it's always unexpected, and it's always an accident of your genius. And the accident happens when you're falling off a cliff and all of a sudden you fly. You wouldn't fly if you were on Earth. You can't make it happen, but you're falling. You're in the unknown. You don't know what to do. And you've got to do something because the moment is presenting itself. And when it does, you write something or you do something with your paintbrush or something, or sculpting. You put this here and you go, how did I do that? How can I do it again? So that's the relationship between genius and talent. And guess what? I went to a Chinese restaurant one night and I got a fortune cookie, cracked it open, and you know what it said? I've kept it all these years. It said, talent does what it can. Genius does what it must.
I like that.
And I went, that's it. Talent does what it can. It's limited. It does what it can. But genius does what it has to do because you're in trouble. You're falling off a cliff. You've come to a point in your art where you have no idea what to do next. And you blunder into something and you go, fuck. Where'd that come from? How do I do that again?
And is that where people get themselves in trouble? Is they think that they can duplicate that over and over again?
Well, I don't know what, gets themselves in trouble. I mean, look, yeah, the whole idea of creating art is to get yourself in trouble as much as you can. But, and in acting too, my acting teacher always used to say, put yourself in danger. He said that, not get yourself in trouble. He said, put yourself in danger. What he meant was, be in a place where your character is in danger and things will happen. None of us want to be in trouble. We do the best we can. And we will rely on our talent. The more talented you are, the more you will rely on your talent. The less talented you are, the more likely you are to have creative accidents because you have nothing to rely on. You have no idea what the hell you're doing. And sometimes, the amateur, wins at poker the first night because you don't know what you're doing. So that can happen. But if you're going to do it long enough, at some point you can't say I'm an amateur anymore. You have to say, look, I know what I'm doing. I have some talent. I know I'm going to rely on it sometime. But if I can once in a while get rid of my talent, hopefully Because if your genius came up every time you got rid of your talent, then it would be simple. It's the accidents of your genius. And when it doesn't come up, what happens? You create shit.
I'm a failure.
Not I'm a failure. This failed right now. And that's how I get better, by failing. My attitude toward failure is, this doesn't define who I am. Just because I drop the ball when I'm juggling doesn't mean I'm not a good juggler. I can be a good juggler. I just have to keep doing it. So how I interpret the failure is different from the willingness to have that happen when you take a risk. And most of the time when you take a risk, genius doesn't come. See, that's the point. It's an accident of your genius. It doesn't always come. But are you willing to lose a few times to get something great? Because when they give you the Nobel Prize, Karen, they are not going to take it away because someone went back to your home and rooted through your trash can and found that you wrote 100 poems that were shit. They're not going to take it away. That's what every artist does. They write crap, they fail. It happens all the time. They're willing to take chances. So no one's going to take it away from you when you win the Nobel Prize. But you got to be willing to fail. And when you do, it may not end up being great. But you got to keep at it, because when you're willing to face that unknown, when you put yourself in danger and not knowing where you're going, and you risk failure, sometimes, the accident of your genius comes up. It's like a mushroom-shaped cloud. So anyway, I've said this to my students, and they're always surprised because everyone has this notion that sometimes you just write something and it's perfect as soon as you write it. It happens. Everyone assumes that happens, that everybody gets lucky sometime. And I said to them, I have never written something in a first draft that was perfect, that never had to have any changes.
And what do they say to that?
No, you're supposed to say, why is that?
Oh, that's right. Okay, sorry. Whose line is it? Why do they say that?
No, why is that?
Oh, sorry. Okay, let me try that again. Why is that?
This is funny. This is a funny joke. Where you, okay.
Let me try. Sorry, let's. Why is that?
Well, wait, no. Let's
Okay.
a little digression here.
Okay.
So you're going to interview me, okay?
Okay.
And make sure you speak loud so they can hear you.
Sure.
You have to say, I understand you're the world's greatest comedian.
Jack,
Practice.
okay. Mr. Graves, I understand that you are the world's greatest comedian?
And I say yes. Then you say, to what do you attribute your great success? Let me hear it.
To what do you... sorry, you're going to say yes or no?
To what do you attribute...
Right, but you're going to say
great,
yes?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. To what do you attribute your great success?
Good. Let's just rehearse that once.
Okay, let's do it again.
And then we'll do it for the camera,
Okay.
All right, start.
Okay. You are the world's greatest comedian, Mr. Graves?
No, it's I understand
Oh, okay.
that you are
Okay,
the world's
right.
greatest
Okay.
comedian. You got to get the lines
Okay.
exactly right.
Sure. Mr. Graves, thank you for taking my question. Karen with Film Courage, I understand you are the world's greatest comedian?
Yes?
Okay. To what do you attribute that success, sir?
No. To what do you attribute your great success?
Okay. To what do you attribute your great success, sir?
Great. Are you ready to shoot it?
Oh, I thought we already were.
No, we're rehearsing right now.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, I mean, I know he's running it, but
Right, okay.
this is the joke.
Okay, sure.
So have you got it down? Have you got your lines
yeah,
down?
I think so. I will
Okay,
try. Okay.
go ahead.
Mr. Graves, thank you for taking my question. Karen with Film Courage. I understand you're the world's greatest comedian?
Yes.
To what do you...
Timing.
Okay. There you go.
You get it?
I do, yeah, uh-huh.
Okay. So, I'm going to say, I've never written a first draft that was perfect, and you're going to say, why? Okay, and then I'll give you the answer.
Sure.
That I give my students.
Okay.
I've never written a first draft that was perfect,
Why?
because I'm too good for that.
Okay.
Now, what does that mean?
Ooh. Many
See,
different
that's the
things.
thing, because they're not expecting that. They think that if you write a first draft, it means you're good. And I said, I never get a perfect first draft because I'm too good for that. That flips it on its head. They're going, too good? You mean if you're too good, all your first drafts are not good? I would think that if you're good, some of your first drafts might be really good. But you're saying, I'm too good to have a perfect first draft. Why do you think that would be?
Modesty?
Nope, I just said I'm too good for that.
Okay. Delusion.
What?
Delusion?
The what?
Delusion. Delusional?
No,
No,
no.
okay,
I wrote it and I
Okay.
go, this is not perfect, and I've never had a perfect first draft.
I see. I don't know.
Because I can see where it can be improved. And the person who's not that good doesn't see where it can be improved. But I'm good. I'm too good to have a perfect first draft because I can see where it can be better. That's half the answer.
What?
The other half of the answer is, and I know how to make it better. Because sometimes you can go, this first draft, it's not quite perfect. I know it needs to be fixed, but I don't know how. What I'm saying is, I'm too good for that. Because one, I can always see how anything can be made better, and two, I know how to do it. So that dispels that notion that a lot of people have, that if you really know what you're doing, you should be able to write that first draft and it's perfect. And I'm saying, well, no. Because if you're really good, you will always see how something can be made better, and you have the tools and the knowledge to make it better. You know how to do it. So again, that to me is a little paradox, which I kind of like. Because hopefully what I'm saying to my students is, don't think that the first draft of anything you write is going to be perfect. Because if you are really good, you will see that it can be better. And if you know how to make it better, that's what you want. You want to be able to go, this thing is not perfect, but if I do this, 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 and this, it'll be perfect.
And so at what point does someone know where the weaknesses are?
At what point do they know where the weaknesses are, or at what point do they get to where they go, well, it's not perfect, but I'm done?
The latter.
There's a famous saying that poets never finish writing a poem, they only abandon it. That at some point you might still feel, well, it's not perfect, but enough is enough. I got to move on to my next one, you know. So maybe there's always going to be a point where you think, well, this is as good as I can make it, and you go on. I mean, I don't think you can say to someone, there's a point where you will always know where you can make it better. And I mean, you know, we're human beings. Sometimes what we send out is imperfect, and sometimes we got to go, well, that's enough, you know, I got to move on to the next thing. This is not the best soup I ever made, but it'll do.
What is a transformational line?
It's a sentence with I in it that you then massage to go deeper.
Can we have an example?
Yeah, say something with I in it.
Okay. I've been really thinking about my life.
Okay, so about my life is what we call the birthday cake. Get rid of that.
Okay.
So now you're left with I've been really thinking.
Okay.
Okay, now, what's the deeper truth? What's the answer to the question, what is the story of my life and what is the truth of who I am? The answer to that is I've been really thinking. Okay? So, have you grokked that? What is the story of your life and what is the truth of who you are? I've been really thinking.
Sure.
Have you got that?
I've been really thinking.
Okay. Now, don't forget, there's another concept. See, there's a lot of stuff that goes to demonstrate this. It's called the other side of the same coin. And the other side of the same coin is not the opposite. It's the same thing said from the other end. So if I say, I'm always late for work, the other side of the coin would be I'm never early. If I say I take my time when I go to work, the other side of the coin would be, well, I never take my time when I go to work. The other side of the coin would be I always give. I never take, I always give. Same thing from the other side. So what is the other side of the coin to I've been really thinking? What's the other side of the same coin?
I don't know.
Well, let's look at the word thinking. What does thinking imply that you're not doing?
Been examining things.
What?
I've been examining things.
No, that's the same idea.
Okay.
What does it imply that you're not doing? If you're always thinking, what are you not doing?
I'm not living.
I'm not living. So, I've been thinking about something in my life. Get rid of something about my life. That's the birthday cake. I've been really thinking. Other side of the coin is I've not been really living.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So say those two lines.
I've not been really living.
No, I've
been
been
really
really thinking. I've not been really living.
I've been really thinking. I've not been really living.
And what's the deeper truth underneath that, Karen?
Trying to think.
The deeper truth that you've not been living. There's a deeper truth.
Well, we've been in a pandemic.
What?
We've been in a pandemic.
Now you're talking about something specific.
Okay.
And you're not giving me an I. It's got to be an I statement.
I've been dealing with the pandemic every day for the last year.
So the fact that you've not been living, the deeper truth is not that it's a pandemic. It's about you. What's the deeper truth that you are not really living?
I haven't been going out anywhere.
Okay, I haven't been going out. That's good. I'll take that.
Okay. Movie theaters.
But
are
don't
closed.
think about the pandemic, because
Okay.
then you're getting back to birthday cakes.
Okay. Okay.
I don't want you to do birthday cakes. It's the story of my life and the truth of who I am. Not about a pandemic. It's the truth of who you are. The truth of who you are is I've been really thinking. I've not been really living.
Right.
What's the deeper truth?
I'm confused.
I'm confused.
Yeah.
What's the deeper truth to the fact that Karen is confused?
I found out some information that my life wasn't what I had been told it was.
Say that again without I found that information.
I was told my life wasn't what it really was.
Now get rid of I told myself and just make the statement.
My life wasn't what it really was.
Good. What's the deeper truth to that?
Then who was I?
Don't ask a question.
Okay.
It's got to be I. Make a statement.
I didn't.
I'm not who I thought I was.
I'm not who I thought I was.
Deeper truth.
I'm confused.
That was earlier. We're
Okay.
going deeper.
Well, I'm at a
No, as you
roadblock.
said, I'm confused.
Uh-huh.
I'm not really who I thought I was. What's the deeper truth?
How do we really know who we are?
Don't ask a question.
Oh, I don't know who I really am now.
And the deeper truth to that, you don't know who you really are. Good.
That's where I'm stuck.
I'm stuck.
I'm stuck. Okay.
And one more. What's the deeper truth to that? You are stuck. In your life, and the truth of who you are is you are stuck. It's the deeper truth.
Whew.
Whew, that was it.
Okay.
There you are.
Overwhelmed. Whew.
No,
Oh.
just whew.
Okay.
You were down here.
Right.
When you went whew, that was right here.
Okay.
That is where you are. Now, can you hold on to that and write your story? In other words, you massage the transformation line, which is an I statement. You take it deeper, 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 as the answer to the question, what is the story of my life and the truth of who I am? And you get rid of the end of the sentence, because we're not talking about the rest of the sentence. When you got to I am stuck, and then I said, what's the deeper truth? You felt it before you said it. And that's why you went, whew, because now you were down there. You didn't even have to say the words. You got there. Now, can you hold on to that? And from that place of who, feel it, start to tell a story. Any story. Doesn't matter. If you start to tell the story from that place, Karen, your writing will change. So what story pops into your head about you being stuck?
Let's go.
You want the exact information? Just some information that I wasn't told about my past, my upbringing.
Tell me about it.
Well,
You know, write it. You're writing it.
I'm writing
But
it.
don't you, just now when you went, well, you went up, stay down with who?
Yeah.
Stay down there.
It's still pretty fresh. I found out about it accidentally. Wasn't really probably supposed to find out. And I found out, and it made me...
You're telling stories.
Okay, I'm chatting.
I want you.
Whew.
When did it happen? I want to know. When did that who happen?
Maybe 2 months ago.
Tell me. Tell me about it.
Just found out some information that was shocking. And really didn't know anymore. I didn't know who I was after I found that out.
Keep going.
And I was angry that I wasn't told the truth.
What was the truth you were told?
Probably don't want to say it because it involves family and they could be listening.
Put yourself in danger.
Well, I had to confront someone. Yeah. I had to confront somebody for covering things up and not being truthful.
Okay. This is what people will buy. This is what people will pay for. They want that story.
Yeah.
And they want the scene. They want to know what the person looked like. They want to know what the dialogue was. They want to know where you were, what was the lighting like, what were their sounds. Make a movie of that scene. And as Goethe said, be brave, be bold, and mighty forces will come to your aid. So when you massage your transformation line and you keep going deeper and deeper, you're going to get to that sentence where you're going to go, whew, and then you start writing in that voice. Don't go up to the chit-chat voice. Stay in that deep voice and write about it. Who was it? Where were you? What was happening, etc. Now, I know you don't want to go into it here, but that is what you would do as a writer, and that's what people pay for. They don't care what your smartness, that's not important. They want the guts, because that's what they want. That's what they pay for. So you want them to buy your book, and you look at all the books that are bestsellers and that people have cherished. It's because characters have been in trouble. Characters have had a conflict. Characters had to discover things about themselves that they didn't want to look at. Something happened. That's what makes drama. That's what makes literature. Clever tales are not going to sell, but the deep truth of your life will register with everybody, because everyone will go, yeah, that happened to me too. Not exactly that way, but sort of. Hey, Joe, you got to read this. Brenda, you got to read this book. You got to read this book. You got to read this book. Because it suddenly becomes about human beings who are in conflict. And sometimes it has a happy ending where the character triumphs, learns to deal with it. And sometimes it has a tragic ending where the character is unable to deal with it.
Right.
You're feeling it right now, aren't you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If you can write from that place, Karen, you will make art. Do you understand that
Yeah.
about a transformation line? Now, if you can get to that deep place without the transformation line, great. That's just a technique I came up with. But if you stumble onto an I statement about a birthday cake, when my brother came home, I was hiding the birthday cake. You get rid of the birthday cake, and now you got, I was hiding. What is this truth? What is the story of your life and the truth of who you are? I was hiding. Not about a birthday cake. I was hiding in my life. And then you massage it, and it takes you deeper. Look how it brought you deeper. We should have the camera on you right now.
Glad I don't have mascara.
Your eyes are full of tears, and your heart is in your throat.
Yeah.
Now, write from that place. Don't go up. Stay there and write. And the writing, write like you talk. Don't try to be a writer. Just tell the story, and it will be magic. And you practice it. That's what I teach. People practice it, and at the end of the first 7 classes, that becomes an important tool for them. What do you think?
Yeah. Maybe give it more time before you write about it if it's something that's...
Now, I've got a line for you to say to me, okay? Say, that felt like therapy,
That felt like therapy.
but it's not therapy. It's about how to write something that people will buy. If you tell your therapist the story that you're not able to tell now, but that you would, and you would tell it to your therapist, the therapist isn't going to go, You know, if you start with the image of when you got in the car with your father and then do the part with the mother, it'll be a lot better. That's not what therapy's about. My class is about making art,
Right.
writing something good. So you might read what you wrote, and I would say, wow, that was amazing. But you know the part about the father? Why don't you open with that and then go to the thing about the mother? See, because we are dealing with this as a work of art. I'm not responding to you like a therapist. I'm not a therapist. I'm not here to get you to, go through your feeling about being stuck. I'm here to use that as a conduit to get you to write in the deep voice, because that voice is powerful. And when the reader hears it, when E.F. Hutton talks, everybody listens. That deep voice, you could be on the beach on a sunny afternoon and you're reading a novel about a man in a prison wearing an iron mask. The story will transport you, the reader, to someplace completely different. And every novel, every story, every poem does that. It's intimate. It connects to the reader. You are talking to the reader and nobody else. The reader feels like this is just for me. In a way, you don't say it literally, but you say to the reader, look, I have to tell you about something that happened to me. I thought I was fine, but then I realized and I got stuck and my life has not moved at all. Now, there are some things I'm going to tell you that I'm not going to tell anybody else. I'm only telling you in this book. And some of the people in this story, they don't know about it. But you will know about it, dear reader, because you and I have this bond, and I'm speaking only to you. That's the illusion you create with art. So, yeah, getting to the deep voice might make you feel emotionally concerned, but that's what it is to be an artist. An artist doesn't just create with the mind. The artist creates with their soul, with their being. And you have to, that's what you have to suffer. They don't care if the dancer's heels are bleeding. They just want the dancer to jump up in the air and stay there for a long time and then come down. They don't care if it was hard for them to do it. They paid $150 for these seats. That's what they want to see. And that's what your reader wants from you. They want blood. And you give it to them. You give it to them. And then your book becomes a bestseller, and you buy an island in the Pacific and retire. Do you see what the point is I'm making here?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because your stories are universal. They're everybody's story. But you felt the power of it, didn't
I
you?
did, yeah. I'm not sure I'm ready to tell it, but.
Well, in the class you would. You'd write it.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the class you'd read it.
Ooh.
And you'd be trembly, and you'd feel like you're in danger. And then after you finish reading it, everybody would be moved, and you'll go, I survived. I'm okay. I told my story, but I'm okay, and they love the story. Okay. What else
What's for
you got,
lunch?
Jack? You know? You'll be ready. I bought this in an airport.
Oh, wow.
They had one that said playwright, which I have here. They had another one that said author, and I bought that one. I don't know where it is. And there was another one that said dog catcher. And if I could find it, I'd wear it. But I can't find that one either. So playwright will have to
Yeah,
be.
playwright, yeah. I think playwright's way better than a dog
Yeah.
catcher.
Well, I don't know, you know. We actually had a very stressful day yesterday because in the middle of the night, someone deposited a dog in our front yard.
Oh.
And we have a little wall about that high that the puppy, it wasn't a little puppy, it was, you know, but a puppy. It'll be a bigger dog. They just dumped. And at 6 o'clock in the morning, my wife went to get the paper, and she said, I need your help. We got this puppy, he's been moaning and groaning, and he's scared, and the whole thing. And so we took it in, and we fed it, and we were debating, do we keep it, because we have a German Shepherd, and the two of them weren't good. The German Shepherd wasn't crazy about it. The German Shepherd's name is Penelope, and so we named the dog Homer.
Oh,
You know.
yeah.
And by the end of the day, we were exhausted. We realized the dog's not housebroken. We don't have time to walk it along with the other dog. It was a mess. So we finally decided we're going to have to find someone who will get the dog. But we loved the dog so much. Within that one day, we both bonded that where are we going to find someone who's going to take good care of it?
That's tough, yep.
And she went to the pet store where we bring our dog. The trainer there, he saw a picture. We took a picture of the dog, and he looked at it and he went, that's an Australian cattle dog. They're very expensive. And my wife said, would you like it? Would you like to take it because we can't handle it? He said, I've been looking for an Australian cattle dog that, you know, I've been looking for it. He was so thrilled, and he's a trainer, and he and his wife came over last night, and they bonded, and the dog is okay. But at the end of the day, I said to my wife, I'm wiped out.
Yeah, that's how we had a cat for like 16, 17 years. Just
Yeah.
showed up at the door, stressed, crying,
Right.
and probably someone dumped it. And
I know.
yeah, it's
Our first
uh,
cat was like that.
Yeah.
She was under a house, scared to death.
Oh.
You know, and that cat, Cleo, when she died, she had been attacked by a dog, and we brought her to the vet, and her wounds were pretty bad, and the vet said, I'm afraid she's probably not going to live very long. And he said, do you want to leave her here with us? And I said, no, we're going to take her home, and she will, if she passes away, it'll be here in our house. So we took her home, and he said, but, you know, if she is going to survive, you have to give her this eyedropper in her mouth every hour. So I laid on the floor next to her, and every hour, I didn't sleep that night, every hour I gave her a little bit of this medicine. And at some point, and then I would fall asleep, and then I'd wake up and give her some more. And at one point, about 4 in the morning, I think it was, when I went to feel her, I could feel the body had rigor mortis had set in. It's that stiffness, you know,
Yeah.
she was dead. And I just stayed with her, and then about 6:30, my wife walked in and she said, how's Cleo? And I said, she died. And I started crying. I don't think I've cried that hard since I broke up with somebody when I was a senior in high school. I started crying so heavy, and then I realized what it was. I was crying for my father.
Oh.
Because I never grieved for my father, because it's a long story, but I kind of skipped over the grief part. And I realized, and this is like 30 years later, here I am crying, and I went, I'm crying for my father. And just, man, it just came out. And you know, we put her in a box, and we buried her and so forth, or had her buried, that kind of thing. But boy, animals, they can really rip your heart out.
Yeah, they can. And I've rescued a lot of cats, or we have, and
Yeah.
you know, they appreciate it. I don't think I've only purchased them from rescues. I've never purchased a purebred or anything.
Yeah, we've always
Yeah.
rescued our pets.
Yeah,
Chucky, who we had to she had cancer, we had to put her down. He used to come up on my desk when I was working, and she would plop right down on my checkbook. And rather than move her, I would, you know, try to write the checks and put them in the envelopes without disturbing him.
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
we know all about it.
Yeah,
That's our daily.
right. Animals, man, there's
Yeah,
something.
they're wonderful though.
Anyway, do you have?
Yeah, let me.
question, right?
Okay. You have a concept you teach called image moment.
Oh, it's very complicated.
Okay, and it's an
But
approach
it's a
to show don't
cinematic.
tell.
It's a cinematic construct in writing that most people don't do, because it's not intuitive. It's something you have to learn to do. But it takes a moment in a dramatic scene and how to create psychological time, so that the reader is in that dramatic moment as if it was a movie. Like when you're in a movie and someone says something and then there's a pause and then they say something else, and it's like, wow, one of those great moments. You know? Oh, Rhett, what will I do? Where will I go? Pause. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. You know, so when you're writing it, you're not making the movie, you're writing it. How do you create that pause and that moment of drama, so that the reader feels they're watching the movie and that they're in the movie, you know, they're watching it, and you create psychological time. The psychological time is the pause. The pause might only last a second in the movie, but psychologically it could last forever. So the husband comes home and she says, I listened to your messages today. He went, oh? She said, are you having an affair? Pause, pause, pause. No. So the drama in that pause, how do you make that psychological, that real time, which is only 2 seconds, psychological, so that it feels forever? Well, there's a way to, I have a lot of techniques that you do and what you do. It's a long mechanical construct, but image moment, because you're creating a moment using images and creating psychological time. It takes people a while to learn how to master it, because most people want to just tell their story, and stopping and doing an image moment feels like they're not going with the flow of their story. So you have to train people to do that.
Do you think that's what's missing in a lot of, let's say, first-time screenplays or films? Is that psychological time, that pacing? It's
Well,
too fast?
a screenplay can't create psychological time. The filmmaker can create it. All you can create in a screenplay is dialogue. You can't tell the actors to pause. You can write it in the screenplay, but it doesn't mean they're going to listen to you. You can say cinematic pause here. Well, the director may go, no, we're going to do it my way. So you're not in control. All you can control is the dialogue, and even then you'll have an actor who will rewrite your line. But you can create a cinematic moment in prose, where you create what appears to be like a movie. And you can learn how to do it, and once you learn how to do it, and get over all your impulses to not do it, because it's a technique, just like in movie making. You have to know which lens to use, and you know when to go in for a close-up, and then it goes to the editor's room, and then they have to edit it. That's technical. That's very technical. And the job of the editor who's editing it is to make the scene on the screen not look technical. He's got to make it work. So you go, wow. Major Strauss has been shot. Pause. Round up the usual suspects. The end of Casablanca. So the editor cuts it in such a way that you, as a moviegoer, feel the psychological time. So the image moment technique I teach is technical. It's very technical. And when people learn to do it and they finally get it, they're always amazed at how it works. And then, it happens without fail, they'll say, I was reading a book the other day and there were like 5 image moments on every page. Because good writers know how to do it. But it's not intuitive. It's not something you intuitively will know how to do.
Spyro. Marisa.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was
That's
just
okay.
trying to put this, it's so hard to
No,
put
no
it
worries.
back. One of the flaws in the design that I never
That's
quite
really cool.
made perfect.
That's really cool. Writing that'll live forever versus writing that's a dead end. You've made that comparison with poetry, I believe. Writing
Wait,
in
say
general.
that again?
Sure. Writing that'll live forever versus writing that's a dead end.
Versus writing that's a dead end. Is that, what is your question?
That's the question. Let me try it again. So,
So
writing.
in other words,
Uh-huh.
some writing lives forever and some writing doesn't.
I think you said that about poetry. And you said sometimes writers attempt to go for writing that'll live forever, but really what they're doing is it's a dead end. How does a writer know that? It doesn't have to be poetry or prose or screenwriting.
I don't know if I have a wise answer to that.
Oh.
Sometimes you don't know. You know, some of the things you do you might think aren't going to be especially relevant or memorable, and for some reason it lives for a long time. And other things that you think are the best thing you ever did ends up being forgotten. So it's kind of hard to know. It's kind of like a crapshoot. You do the best work you can and you hope for the best.
Creativity is a process, not a.
Prescription for product.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't say, you know, here's the finished product, let's work to make the product. And a product has this, it has that, it has this, it has that. That's what most writing classes do. Matter of fact, that's what most literary criticism in the 19th century did. And in the 20th century, literary criticism even shifted to what are the techniques or the devices that the author used. Not what is his life about and the Freudian implications and the social milieu of the time, but what are the devices that the artist used to make that product? Well, I kind of go further back and go, the devices are something that we write in the process toward product, but we don't aim for the finished product. We don't know where we're going to go. The creative work is about the process, working on the concepts, the exercises, not on a prescription for a finished product. So the concepts I teach in method writing are not the end product. They are the process impulse. So all the concepts I teach, not just in level 1 and 2 that we kind of talked about, but in level 3, 4, and 5, and then the levels beyond. I have a whole bunch of levels. It's about the process. I'm always wanting the artist to honor the process, the way you work, not what you're aiming for, but just let the truth of the impulse of your process find its way, and then when you finally get your novel or your story or your poem,
What the hell?
you won't have headed there.
I just
And my analogy in sports is, in golf, you don't aim
why I mean
to get the ball in the hole. You hit the ball correctly. You get the right club and you swing correctly, and if you do that, it'll go where it's supposed to go. But you don't aim to put it in the hole. So you go through your process and let the end result take care of itself. So that's what I mean when I say the creativity is about the process. Matter of fact, isn't that the term they use? They say the creative process. So if you come from the process, the product will emerge and it will always surprise you. It will be unexpected. You didn't expect to be stuck. We started out with, I'm really thinking about da-da-da. And by the time we got through going through some of the techniques of the other side of the coin and other things I didn't bring up, you end up being stuck and writing about that subject that you didn't expect to write about. So that's what I mean by, it's not a prescription for product, it's a process.
Do you
Does that make sense?
It does. Do you see a lot of writers that come in with the product mindset?
Everybody.
You think everybody starts out that
Sure,
way?
we're all human. We all have, ideas, things we want to do. Most people have some kind of idea what they want to write about, and they're always surprised that in some way they did do it, but they took a route they didn't expect. And if they had gone straight for it, it wouldn't have been what it ended up being. And that the unexpected path there was what makes it interesting, not where they got.
Why is it important to outline the story before you start writing it?
It's not important. I would never suggest anybody do that. That's exactly what I just finished talking about. That's where you're looking at your product and fitting your feet into the shoes of the right size, and you're not in any creative process at all. I would never tell anybody to outline your story, except there's two exceptions. You would make an outline of your story if you're being paid. And this is the other component, because if you're just being paid and this other component isn't there, then it doesn't apply. You're being paid and there's a deadline tomorrow or at the end of the week. Well, okay, they're paying me. They want me to write a story about ballistic missiles. Okay, I'll do the best I can with my talent. I'll outline what I need to do, blah, blah, blah. I'll get it done in a week and I'll make $5,000. But if they're not paying me and there's no deadline, why would I go with an outline for the product when the creative process is much richer and holds so many unexpected marvels? That's what I want to bet on. I want to bet on that horse, the unexpected marvel that will come from the unknown and the unexpected of the creative process. Why would I do, if no one's paying me and there's no deadline, why would I purposefully sabotage my genius, which doesn't come out all the time anyway, if ever? I'm not going to make an outline, because then I'm bound by the outline.
So you don't need to know where you're going when you're writing a story.
It's not about needing to know. You are better off if you don't know. If you know, you're probably going to be in trouble. It's like love.
So cái thằng random này nó random
I'm not
Tell
going
me.
to fill that blank
Tell
in,
me,
but
I want to hear it.
if you have a card, and every time with your date you keep looking at the card, oh, they say something funny, okay? It's got a list of things you should do that will make your date want you. I mean, that's ridiculous. You have to be in the moment, and you have to just be there, be in the moment, see what happens. Love always happens when you don't expect it to happen, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know,
So you don't think blind dates work?
you what?
You don't think blind dates work?
If they're kept blind, if you are open. As a matter of fact, I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying blind dates can work. Listen to the stories that people tell of how they met. People who've been together for 3, 4, 5 years at least. They'll say, I never expected it. He was my uncle's neighbor, and it was a wedding, and he was there, and he's not anything like the person I thought I would fall in love with. I thought it was going to be this, this, and that, and I don't know, just something happened, and the next thing you know, we got 5 kids. You can't, oh, is it the Supreme? You can't something about love. What is it? It's a
Can't hurry
song.
love?
Can't what?
You can't hurry love?
You can't
just
hurry
have
love.
to
You
wait.
can't hurry
Yeah.
love, yeah.
Okay. So-
Yeah.
Sorry, you don't want me to sing.
Yeah. No, no, you don't want me to sing it. I would be happy to hear you sing
Okay,
it.
all right, but people, we can put a link to the video for the song.
Yeah, no, if something is gonna be written, it's gonna be written. Don't be afraid. Yeah, you got that story about you, when you went fishing with your father. It'll come through. Don't worry about it. Go with the unknown. And it'll come in when you least expect it. But go with the unknown. That's the creative process. Unless someone's paying you
Right.
and there's a deadline, well, you're not stupid. Someone's gonna give me money to write about ballistic missiles. Okay, I'll do it. But otherwise, I'm gonna go with the unknown.
So what about the people that say you must have a roadmap for where you're going? If not, your story will not turn out.
And I got a uranium mine that you must invest in. It's somewhere out in Nevada. You give me $10,000 of your hard-earned money, and I'll make you $1 million. What would you say to that?
Can I go visit the mine?
I would say,
You take me on a tour.
I would shut the door. So the same is true for the story. I don't worry about it. It'll come through. And anyone who says you must know your story, if you want to put your money in a uranium mine, that's your business. But, it's not what I teach. So I'm not saying my way is the only way, but it's what I teach.
What is the invisible motor?
The idea that a work of art is a mechanical thing, that's an analogy I use, but I discovered it goes all the way back to the Russian formalists who looked at the form rather than the content. In other words, not the story, but the devices you use to make the story come alive. And they felt that a work of art was like a machine, and it worked, as I said. And one of the analogies this guy used, a man named Victor Shklovsky, he said it was like a car. And he said some other things, but I go a slightly different direction. There's three things with the car. There's the engine, there's the inner structure and decor, and there's what the car looks like on the outside. What the car looks like on the outside is your story. That's your story. A lot of people write their stories and there's no engine and there's nothing inside. It's like a fake set on a movie lot. That's the outer trappings of it. But to me, the motor that's under the hood, that's the invisible motor that powers a poem or a story. And when you work on your story or whatever you're going to be writing, the techniques that I teach are the mechanics of that invisible motor that powers your story. So that's what I mean when I say the invisible motor. And most writing classes don't really go to the invisible motor. They go with the design of the car, the story, how it looks from the outside. But they don't really get into writing. I want to make people better writers, not better plotters. When you're on a plane and someone says to you, what do you do? You don't say, oh, I'm a plotter. I want you to be, the one who makes the story go because of the engine. If I got in a car, the most beautiful car in the world, turn on the key, it doesn't work. I don't want the car. It's got to go. What makes the car go? The devices that we learn how to write in an authentic voice, then learn how to use the other 4 voices. Then I have other levels where I teach other devices. But these are devices that actually facilitate the creative unknown.
And what's the oil in that engine? What if I'm low on oil and now these gears and these different parts are going to start grinding and pretty soon the car is going to stop working?
That's a good question. No one's ever asked me that. What's the oil?
whether it's synthetic, vegetable, whatever I'm running on, what is that oil that's keeping this story?
Your emotional
That's a
truth.
very dumb man.
That's the oil. If it's not coming out of here, it's not worth it. It's
Okay.
just imagination, which is good up to a point, but it has to have an emotional truth. What's the emotional truth? So that's the oil.
Okay,
Look at the oil you had a little while ago.
that's true.
I mean, that was a lot of oil, kiddo.
It was an oil spill.
And if you can hold on to that oil,
Uh-huh.
not just for the story you would write about being stuck, but other experiences you might write about that same oil applies, now your story is going to be compelling for the reader.
Right.
You don't need an outline. You don't need a plot. You don't need that. If you don't have the deep voice and you don't have the oil of some of the other techniques, the emotional truth, you're doing what when Jack Kerouac wrote On the Road and he showed it to Truman Capote, he wrote it on butcher paper, rolls of butcher paper, which he just stuck in the typewriter. Truman Capote said, "That's not writing, that's typing." Now he was wrong, but that's a good analogy. And if you don't have the emotional truth, it's just typing, not writing.
Okay.
So, the way you're nodding your head,
Yeah.
and what you
I was,
think
I
of
was
it,
actually thinking of the movie Kill Your Darlings, which did a show, part of it had Jack, so I was trying to picture what he was going through, I believe. His character was in the film. So that's where I went to. I was
Right.
thinking of,
Right.
did he go to France and people think he was homeless? Or am I getting him
Now,
mixed
who are you
up?
talking about?
Jack Kerouac. Am I getting him mixed up with someone else where he went to France and he became very disillusioned because people thought he was homeless?
No.
No, I'm thinking of someone
No,
else.
he lived with his mother.
Okay, wrong person.
All his stories about him being on the road,
Uh-huh.
he went on the road a few times. He basically lived with his mother and typed.
And typed, okay.
But he drew on his experiences. He was a great writer. And he drew on his experiences. And boy, you read On the Road, and man, that book is, the poetry in it comes from the emotion of his deep voice. Just
What?
every once in a while, I read the last paragraph of On the Road. You just read that last
Nếu
2 or 3
coi cho rồi
paragraphs,
đi.
the last
Chơi
page.
vét là lên
Man,
vét 2 rồi.
it's great. And I just read it, and it sometimes helps me find my voice. Try it sometime.
Do you remember what exactly the paragraph is? Not word for word. But
I can't quote it.
Okay.
You'd have to read it. If I had it here, I could read it. But
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah.
Bán đùm
It's a
bán
beautiful, beautiful piece of writing. It's like a piece of music. Sometime I will read a paragraph or a page out of a book that I know the way I would put some music on, because I know it somehow gets me in the mood or it touches me in a certain way. So same with writing. I'll read something and I'll read the end of Ulysses with Molly Bloom's speech, where, they're on this bluff and he's been trying to get her to make love to him, and finally she thinks, oh, what the hell, as him as anyone else, what the hell. And then she asked him to ask her again, and he asked her, and she said, yes. I said, yes, I will, yes. I'll read those last words in Ulysses, and man, I hear the rhythm of that voice, and it just really connects me. There's a lot of books, things that I'll go and read. I'll read the opening of Dante's Inferno. Midway through the journey of my life, I found myself lost in a dark wood. I found myself lost in a dark wood. How do you find yourself? By getting lost. Midway through the journey of my life, I found myself. Now, literally, it means I suddenly, I was there. I found myself at the East Gate. I found myself in the back room. But if you think of it literally, midway through the journey of my life, I found myself lost. And that's how I found myself, by being lost in a dark wood. you know, in the dark truth of your soul and of being stuck and where you went when you went to the deep voice. That's your potent place. That's the oil that will make your engine run. And if the engine is put together right and you've got these techniques that you know how to use, Indy 500, winner.
Is that why you love writing poetry? The rhythm of the writing, the rhythm of the word?
Well, the rhythm is the rhythm of the voice.